Okay, so this is a quick tutorial on how to play dwarves versus zombies. First, you have to understand that there are two teams, dwarves and mobs. As a dwarf, your goal is to defend the shrines. The shrines are identified by a yellow beacon in the middle, as well as golden shrine blocks around it. You cannot build inside the shrine, but you can build around it to create walls and make it harder for mobs to attack. As a mob, your goal is to capture the shrines, but you need a certain ratio of mobs to dwarves in order for the shrine to start draining power. Typically, the first shrine is very hard to defend, while the last shrine is really easy to defend and only takes around 3 dwarves to hold it. As a dwarf, you should retreat to the fallen shrine before the current shrine is about to fall, because once the shrine falls, the fallen shrine becomes the new monster spawn, and it becomes very difficult to get away if you don't start retreating early. During setup, the first thing you should do is go to the back of the keep and grab weapons and tools. It's also wise to have a comfortable hotbar setup. For me, I like to go sword, shield, healing ale, bow, blocks, torches, slabs, wrenches, and an empty slot for armor repair. Okay, I have to quickly explain what each item does. So the sword is your melee weapon. Your shield allows you to take no knockback while you're holding it while it's enchanted, but you can only use this ability 10 times a match, so you activate it by right-clicking it and it becomes enchanted, and it only works when you hold it out. The healing ale is your healing item. You typically want to heal when you're under 10 hearts, and to heal, all you do is left-click it. It will take 100 mana, and you have to constantly manage your health bar and mana bar to make sure that you have enough resources to survive. Do not right-click it because it does nothing. Your bow is your ranged weapon. Normally the bow is very powerful, but it will deal almost no damage to mobs within 5 blocks, or if you do not have direct skylight access, so you do not use your bow indoors. You need blocks on bar because you typically use blocks to get away from mobs. You need torches on bar because torches will allow you to negate blindness. As a dwarf, being out in the dark gives you a blindness effect that goes away only when you have a torch out or if you're near light. Also, certain mobs like wolves, venom burners, and zombies can get bonuses in the darkness, so it is wise to start placing torches everywhere if you're getting attacked by player mobs of those sort. But however, it is very dangerous to place torches near rats because rats can get extra experience while breaking torches. Next we have the slabs. Slab is a special item placed on the wall whenever you left click. It will place it at the ledge of where you left click kind of. So if you're being launched in the air by a super creeper, you can place a slab while you're flying up and then land on top of it, and that's why it's on the bar. And also it's good for slabbing off certain areas at the end of the game and using it as a defensive resource. Wiggly wrenches are an item that lets you instantly repair your armor, but you only get 3 of them, so it's basically a panic button that you use only at the end of the game. Lastly, the empty slot's important because of how Minecraft hotkeys, but I'll get to that later. A few more notable items are mortar, which when left clicked strains the blocks around you. During setup phase, the mortar acts as super mortar, which makes the blocks blue. The high strength blocks are blue. However, during the game, you'll need to use super mortar to make the blocks have that level of strength, or else the regular mortars don't do as much. Another notable item is the enchanted lanterns, but they are not as useful because you can just use torches, but they are a light source that can be placed, cannot be broken, and goes away after a minute. Okay, so during setup, you want to start getting blocks, torches, and armor. And also, if you have extra time, you want to start building walls and proc tunnels and mining extra gold so that your team can survive longer. To get blocks and gold, each map will have a quarry full of gravel and gold ore. Each piece of gravel is worth 3 cobblestone when mined. Mining gold ore will put gold into the gold supply shown on the right, and that is used to repair armor, and the gold supply will be shared throughout every single dwarf. To make torches and mortar, you will need to chop wood by right-clicking any log with an axe. Then you will take the wood to a sawmill and right-click the sawmill with the wood. The wood can get cut into planks, the planks can be cut into sticks, and the sticks can be cut into bowls. Sticks are used for torches and bowls are used for mortar. Typically you do not want to make mortar because you spawn with plenty and you want to just make sticks. I recommend having at least a stack and a half of torches and at least 3 stacks of blocks by the end of setup. To finalize the torches or mortar, you will need to right-click it with oil. And oil is a purple fluid that is found throughout the map. A quick tip is you can also make your arrows while making the torches. Just right-click the sticks onto the mortar, and while that is on cooldown, left-click with the bow to make your arrows. It's honestly not that important to make that many arrows, so it's okay if you don't do this. Another thing you can do during setup is make armor. To make armor, you just have to right-click a anvil with a pickaxe. It will place a piece of gold on it, right-click the piece of gold to refine it, break it when it's fully refined, and then you'll get a piece of armor. You cannot equip the armor, you can only equip it to other people. So you left-click someone else who doesn't have armor with the armor, and it will give them armor. So typically you don't have to really do this because a lot of players are really into making armor and really into armoring up everyone anyway. Alright, so now that I explained all the useless setup stuff and mechanics, let's get into the game. As a dwarf, in the beginning, you'll typically want to use your bow, but as the wall is being overrun, you want to start switching to your sword. Your sword is the most powerful weapon you own, because whenever you get a kill with it, you will obtain a proc. A proc will allow you to instantly kill most mobs, and give you a bit of absorption, and give you night vision and speed. Sometimes, you will still have the blindness after you get a proc, so you need to switch to your torch after you obtain a proc to get rid of the blindness, and then use the night vision, and then continue your proc. The best strategy is to put yourself into a corner with a bunch of AI zombies so you can start the proc, and then use that proc to beat the player mobs. You do not want to go in a 1v1 with a player mob, because player mobs have a lot of regeneration, and they will typically out-heal your damage. So you can only kill player mobs with a proc, basically. They will be very powerful. As a mob, you need to avoid players who have a proc up, and then start attacking players who do not have procs up, because then you can deal massive amounts of damage. As a dwarf, you will need to manage your health, armor, and mana. Again, I recommend using your AL whenever you're half health, because it's very easy to get bursted down by creepers and other mobs. I also recommend, as soon as you lose 1 tick of armor, to start repairing your armor. To repair your armor, you just take it off, put it in your hotbar, and then start left clicking with it, and then right click with it, put it back on. It becomes more difficult to repair your armor as you lose more armor, so again, make sure you repair it basically before you hit the full tick, or when you hit the full tick. Also, it's not a big deal to waste a bit of gold to top off your armor, so do that. And an advanced trick you can do is to proc while repairing your armor. That's when the last slot really comes into play. I'll play a clip in the background demonstrating how I do this, but basically you need to use your hotkeys to move your armor into the slot, and then repair really quickly, and then right click it and put it back on, and then continue your proc and switch to your sword again. This will be really helpful in long fights at the final shrine. Okay, so we're going to briefly talk about mobs, because I think mobs are a little bit easier to play, but what you do as a mob is when you open up the mob menu, there will be 3 mobs, which are zombies, skeletons, and creepers. Typically as a zombie, you want to start upgrading both of the paths, get a little bit of health, get a little bit of attack, and then try to get a leap in, and try to get a vampirism in. That way you can start not taking damage, basically. The thing about zombies is that they're the best class typically to play if you want to start doing some damage, and it's really good in the early game and it's really good in the late game. Whereas something like skeletons are only good in the early game, because it's really hard to start shooting people in narrow corridors at the end. But basically, skeletons, the best upgrade path is usually Wither, although some people can go Infiltrator to start building vines and stuff everywhere, or some people go Impact to start breaking blocks, and so skeleton's kind of broad. And then Creepers, the best upgrade path is definitely the player damage one, so you want to pick that one if you're going Creeper. Oh, and another objective you want to do as a mob is you want to start breaking torches, because it gives you experience every time you break a torch. And that experience can be used to upgrade your monster path. Rats will get bonus experience when they break torch. They get around 50, whereas you get around 15 if you're not a rat. So it's really crazy if you start becoming a rat and then breaking torches. The other thing is, if you ever get all the upgrades for every single mob, you can become Servant of Death, which will allow you to create a Doom Portal, which will basically reset the monster spawn to whatever you set your Doom Portal, which is really crazy at the end game. Okay, so I think that's all I have for the Distortional Zombies tutorial. I probably missed something, but hopefully I didn't. Anyway, bye.